One of the things that's happened in the last 100 years is we've created the ability to posit images of ourselves in extreme. Susan Sontag, again, the woman I mentioned earlier, Illness Metaphor. In one of her books, she says, the extended family has been replaced by the family album, photo album. And we sit with the family photo album with nostalgia and say, oh, look, there's Uncle Bill and there's you when you were... But it's not the same as living, live human beings that are in your house, that pick up your child when they need it. The niece that picks up your daughter to help you out for a moment because she just wants to hold that baby. Or the granny that does that. Or the neighbor. So we live in a unique time. We live in a time when film, photography, images, stories, ad infinitum, endless stories go on. People, there was a poll that someone did some time ago, sort of a cross-section of the country, and they asked people to identify the most evil people in the world today, and half of the things that came back were real people and half were characters from television. Do you know, like, so wait a minute, do people discern the difference? And I say, no, in some level, what I repeat over and over is that no, it's no accident that they called that program Friends. Because really it replaced, people began to call, I'd hear it, people were calling the characters on that program by their first names. And they'd say, did you know what Joy did today? And who's Joy? Oh, it's a friend of mine. But here's what I'm getting at. We live in a narcissistic age. Narcissist, the story of Narcissist, you all know the story of Narcissist, but let me remind you of the story of Narcissist if you don't. It's a Greek myth, if you will. And the story of Narcissist is that Narcissist is a beautiful being. Okay? But what happens is he goes to a pond and he gazes upon his image in the pond for the first time, and he sees how beautiful he is and becomes totally caught by the image. He cannot take his eyes off the image. He cannot leave the image. His companion happens to be Echo. Echo is the woman who accompanies him. And Echo is debilitated in a different way. He's stuck at the pond and will die at the pond by obsession with his image. Now, narcissism is a term that popularly is used to describe someone who is in love with themselves. But correctly speaking, Narcissist was not in love with himself. He was in love with an image of himself outside of himself. And Echo, the female companion, was only able to repeat what he said. Only to echo. Now that's another whole story in terms of male-female dynamics that we'll go, maybe tomorrow I can go into. But the point I'm making here is that Narcissist was not in love with himself. He was not connected to himself. He was placing himself outside of himself and abstracting himself from actually being present. And there was no real love for himself there. Are you with me on this? So we live in an age in which people, okay, the exercise I want to get to has to do with the first stage of experiencing, doing some exercises that can help us to begin to experience feeling and being present, okay? So I say we live in an age of narcissism in which we do not feel. We do not feel and live in a realm of feeling and being present with our feelings in our bodies. And artificial environments, automobiles, controlled temperatures, artificial light, being disconnected from nature, being disconnected from animals, being disconnected from each other, most importantly, are the things that perpetuate and create this disconnection from ourselves. So that we find people who, no, everything's right. They drive the right kind of SUV, they've gone to the right kind of school, they look right, they even go to the right kind of therapist, they say the right things, they wear the right clothes, everything looks right. What's wrong with them? Why are they depressed? Why are they sick? Why do we not feel from them what we would expect to feel? Why do they do suddenly this out of this terrible thing? Or why don't they care what's happening in Iraq? Why don't they care what's happening in the inner city ghetto? Why don't they care enough to do something? Because they don't care. Caring is feeling. We do not recognize the degree to which we have lost feeling. Okay, that's one of my statements. We do not realize the extent to which we have lost feelings. Men mostly. Women, for the most part, are still stuck with feelings. Sorry, but thanks. Are you with me? Sorry that you have all these feelings, but thank you for at least preserving that aspect of humanity for us. Okay? Does this seem strange what I'm saying to anybody? Yeah.
I think you have a lot of good points, and I tend to agree with you that in the modern age, people have lost touch with a lot of things. But haven't some people always been dishonest or corrupt throughout time? And for example, I feel like I've met as many honest people among secular yuppies than, even MSA Muslims. So,
okay, I hear what you're saying.
And our genetics.
Okay, let me reiterate this. We live in a time in which we have become disconnected from nature, from animals, and from our physical being. We don't walk anymore. Okay, we can go to the gym and work out, we can get these machines and do that, and we can try to, but even that may not do there's a lot of pieces that play into this. What I wanted to put out here before we do this exercise was this concept, and I'll elaborate on it more if you'd like, but really that we're not feeling like someone did 100 years ago. We're not present in our bodies. And part of the reason we're not present is that we're not present with each other. We need each other. Part of the reason we're not present in our bodies is because we were not connected to our mothers. How many people, probably even now, that were bottle fed? How many people were separated from their mothers in the delivery room in the hospital? How many people were separated from their mothers at an early age or placed in front of a television as a babysitter? With an abstract world, two-dimensional, that's not real at all, and had to develop the ability, even at an early baby age, develop the ability to fix on the movement and the continuity of this false life that was going on, that is not life at all. These are things, and how many of us were weaned on the television so we would we would hear the news about some horrible murder or some terrible thing happening in some country, followed by the Escalade commercial, followed by, the Sprite commercial, followed by some terrible thing that happened, and how we had to learn to just sit and take each one in as if no one was different than the other. These were all dehumanizing experiences, and on and on and on and on. So what I'm saying is, there are good people and there are bad people everywhere, but what I'm saying is this: we are not present in our bodies. We're not present in our bodies. If we were present in our bodies, we would be feeling more. If we were feeling more, we would care. But caring comes from feeling. Most of us think we feel. I know one man who said, well, I can't think of how I should feel in this situation. And I said, wow, you can't think of how you should feel in this situation. Yeah, that's the way we men tend to work. I think I'm supposed to feel this, so okay, I'm thinking I'm supposed to feel this, so I'm going to be appropriate and dutiful as a human being, right, and I'm thinking I'm feeling this, so, right, I feel sad. But you don't feel sad with your brain. You don't feel angry with your brain. You don't feel, anxious with your brain. You don't feel tender and loving with your brain. You feel with your body. You get angry. People get angry. You all remember the last time you got really angry? Anybody? Can you all remember anybody who can't remember getting angry? I remember just very recently getting angry. I remember getting angry. I got angry while I was doing Salat, and this guy kept pushing his foot over more and more, so I was going to fall over that way if he did any more. And I was like, come on. I wanted to go, give me some space. And I felt angry, and I said, okay, where do I feel angry? Where do I feel that? Because we feel emotions in our body. This is a simple fact. You all remember the last time you got angry? How did you know you were angry? It wasn't because you knew here with his brain. You felt angry, right? Are you all with me on this? It's a simple fact. Does anyone right? Is this true or not true? We feel emotions, but if our bodies are shut down in terms of our nervous systems, we don't feel them. We think we feel them. But I will suggest that awakening feeling for most of us, and for men more than women, is now a process in which we have to fight and work against tide of things that conspire to keep us separate from feeling. And that tide consists of being disconnected from nature, being disconnected from our own bodies, living in unnatural, controlled environments, overwhelming issues. That's another one of the things that conspires to keep us from feeling. It's too much. We can't handle it. Like, my God, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening, that's happening. Oh my God, and that, oh, what? It's no accident. Do you all know this movie? Anybody here watch popular movies? Dawn of the Dead was a classic. No accident, they just remade the movie. Did they not remake it? And where does the new version take place? In what? In a mall. Right. So we live in an age of narcissism, in which we do everything according to what's supposed to happen. Everything is outside of ourselves. I'm doing all the correct things. I look right. Why am I not happy? Why do I not feel fulfilled? Because you don't have people that you really love and you feel that love and spend time with. You don't have family that you sit and eat with. You don't have friends that you process your life daily with, expressing emotion of all kinds: tears, happiness, sorrow, joy, anger, disagreements. That's what life is about. And what happens in those personal, real exchanges is something happens to the physiology, right? Something happens materially to the fluids, the nervous system. You smell that person, and something different happens than when you're talking on the cell phone.